So, in this crime series, crime genre, let us see next top 10 outlaws of the Wild West. Number 10, William Curly Bill. Brocious, it's an 1845 March 24 to 1882. So, Curly Bill was so called because of his head of thick, curly black hair. After the death of old man Clanton, he became the leader of the Cowboys gang of cattle rustlers in Arizona. He also worked for a while as a tax collector for Cochise country John Bahan. Curly Bill was a heavy drinker who became even more rambunctious when drunk. One night, while drinking with the other cowboys, he was asked by Marshal Fred White to give up his pistol. In handing the gun over to the marshal, it accidentally discharged, hitting White. White, who had been friendly with Curly Bill, made a statement on his deathbed that he believed the shooting was an accident and Brocious was acquitted. Wyatt Earp testified in his defense but later shot and killed him in retaliation for the murder of his brother Morgan Earp. Number 9. Sam Bass, July 21, 1851 to July 21st, 1878. So he died on the same day where he was born on July 21st. Sam Bass started out an honest man. After running away from the abusive uncle who raised him, he went to work in a sawmill in Mississippi. His uncle, his dream was to be a cowboy, and he eventually made his way to Texas. After one season, he decided he didn't like it. In 1876, Bass and a rough character named Joel Collins drove a herd of longhorns up north where the prices for cattle were higher. They were supposed to go back to Texas to pay off the owners of the herd, but instead they took the $8,000 profit for themselves. Number 8, Belle Star, February 5, 1848 to February 3rd, 1889. Myra Mabelle Shirley was born in Cuyahoga, Missouri. As a young lady, she attended the Carthage Female Academy, where she excelled in all subjects and became an accomplished pianist. She grew up with Cole Younger and later befriended the James brothers. When the outlaws of the James Younger gang needed to hide out, they often stayed at the Shirley family farm. It was not long before Mabel was introduced to a life of crime and earned the nickname the Bandit Queen in 1866. Number 7. Thomas Coleman Enger, January 15, 1844 to March 21, 1916. Cole Enger's life was forever changed when his father was murdered by Union Captain Valley. Mr. Enger had given Valley a severe beating for making advances on his daughter, Cole's sister. Cole was already a member of Quantrill's Raiders, but after the murder of his father, He joined the Confederate Army. It is not for certain when he went into banditry, but the first time he was mentioned as a suspect was after the 1868 robbery of Nimrod Long and Co., a bank in Louisville, Kentucky. Cole and his brothers formed a gang with Jesse and Frank James. They robbed stagecoaches, trains, and banks in Missouri, Kentucky, Kansas, and West Virginia. Number 6. James B. Killer Miller, October 25th, 1861 to April 1901. He lived in between. James B. Killer. James Miller was also known as Deacon Jim because he went to church and did not smoke or drink. Despite his piousness, he was actually one of the deadliest guns in the Wild West. He openly stated that he would kill anyone for money, and his rate was reported at anywhere from 150 to $2,000. Miller's usual method was to ambush his victims at night using a shooting shotgun and wearing a black frock coat, making him hard to see in the darkness. Number 5. The Sundance Kid, 1867. Number 6, 1908. The Sundance Kid's Henry Longbog earned his nickname when he was caught and convinced of horse thievery in Sundance, Wyoming. Despite his reputation as a gunfighter, he is not certain to have actually killed anyone. After his release from jail in 1896, he and Robert Leroy Parker, aka Butch Cassidy, formed the gang known as the Wild Bunch. They were responsible for the longest string of successful train and bank robberies in American history. Number 4. Butch Cassidy, April 13, 1866, November 1908. In 1879, at the age of 13, Robert Leroy Parker lived and worked with his family on the ranch of Jim Marshall in Circleville, Utah. It was there he met his friend and mentor Mike Cassidy, who gave Bob his first gun and taught him how to shoot. Years later, Bob would take his last name, Cassidy, as a tribute. His first run in with the law occurred when he rode into town to buy a new pair of overalls. The general store was closed, so Bob let himself in and found a pair that fit and left a note promising he would be back to pay later. The merchant reported him to the sheriff, but he was acquitted of any crime. On June 24, 1889, he and three others robbed the San Miguel Valley Bank in Totolo, Colorado, netting $21,000. Number 3. John Wesley Hurd in May 26, 1853 to August 1895. The son of a Methodist preacher, Hardin was named after the founder of the Methodist faith. When he was only 14 years old, he stabbed a boy for taunting him. A year later, he was playfully whistling with an ex-slave named Mage. He scratched Mage's face, and the next day Mage hid on a path and attacked Hordin. In retaliation, Hordin fired three warning shots, but when Mage didn't back off, Hardin was forced to shoot him in self-defense. Number 2. Jesse James, September 5th, 1847 to April 3rd, 1882. He lived in between. Jesse James was born in Missouri, and along with his brother Frank was a Confederate guerrilla fighter during the Civil War. After the war, the James boys joined the younger brothers and formed the James Younger Gang. Together, they robbed banks, stagecoaches, and trains. In 1869, the gang held up the Davis County Association in Geratin, Missouri. Jesse shot and killed a clerk, believing him to be someone else. When he realized his terrible mistake, he began a correspondence with John Newman Edwards, editor and founder of the Kansas City Times. Number 1. Billy the Kid, November 23rd, 1859 to July 14th, 1881. There is no outlaw more legendary than Billy the Kid. Countless books, movies, and songs have been written about his life. But the reality was not quite as sensational. Often portrayed as a cold blooded killer, he entered a life of crime out of necessity, not a miracle, not a malice. People who knew him personally called him brave, resourceful, honest, and full of laughter. Under different circumstances, he could have been a successful man. It has been said that he killed 21 people, one for each year of his life, but he was probably only responsible for four. That's all. These are the top 10 outlaws of the Wild West.